Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying during the commercials. Let me kind of talk a little bit more about some of the advantages from my point of view to doing this procedure. When we go from the groin, we have a catheter that's shaped somewhat like that to look at the left coronary, a catheter that's shaped like that to look at the right coronary, and then we have other catheters if we're going to do stents. So we're changing catheters quite a bit. When I do my cases from the arm, I usually do them with just one catheter that's shaped like that, which we can actually twist around into the other side, and it happens to be a catheter that we can do stents through too. So the majority of my cases, I'm doing everything with one tube. That makes it quicker for the patient, it makes it easier for the patient because we're not running tubes up and down the artery. It makes it much more economical for the hospital because the hospital's not going through as much equipment. And it removes some of the complications of putting wires into the arteries, putting catheters over them, taking them out. It's not a huge advantage, and there's certainly nothing wrong with going from the groin. In fact, the vast majority of cases in this country are still done from the groin.
Tell me about a bit about the. Does it put any pressure on the veins when you're doing this? How do you guide yourself through, and does it ever get snagged? I mean,
no.
This is very interesting.
The technique is actually very interesting. It's not a whole lot different from what Roto-Rooter does when they come to do your drain, except our house calls are a little bit cheaper than theirs. The first thing we do is we take a long wire, 145 centimeter, which is about 4.5, 5 feet, give or take. It has a curved tip and a very floppy tip, and we put that up actually into where almost the tip of this tube is. And so we then take the tubes over the wire. So we're always going to an area where we know because we're traveling the wire. So we're never in virgin territory, so to speak. So we always use the guide wire. We always go over the guide wire, and so we're never pushing blind. And as long as we can see the wire, we know where we are, because the tip of the wire is curved at the tip, and it's got a little J-tip. It's got a little hook on it. We know it's not going to catch up on a side branch because it's always going up sort of elbow first like this. And so it's actually a very easy technique from that point of view.
So when you pull back down, it pulls flat.
Oh, we just take the wire out. When we get the tube up into the area just above the artery, we take the wire out. We hook the tube up to a syringe that has our contrast media, and then we're there.
All right. Very cool.
So yeah, it's a very nice technique. It's so automatic to us, we kind of think that everybody knows it, but of course, they don't.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we're going to getting set up for a caller here. We have a caller named Barbara. In just a minute, we're going to bring her on the line, and we take a lot of calls on the show, Dr. Savran. So we're going to bring her up here. And Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead and ask the doctor.
Hi, doctor. I'm a patient there in Independent, and I wanted to know about my diagnosis. I'm coming in tomorrow, but coronary can't even say it. I'll spell it. It's atherosclerosis?
Atherosclerosis.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Does that have anything to do with what we're talking about?
It does, and that's the disease we're looking for, Barbara. The assumption that we make when we look at the arteries in the heart is we're concerned that there's some blockages in those arteries. And the name it's given a lot of names: hardening of the arteries, cholesterol plaques in the arteries. Those are sort of non-medical terms, even though they're very descriptive. But what we're looking for are areas in the artery in which the artery is partially or totally blocked because of a very complicated blockage that's composed of cholesterol and scar tissue and perhaps blood clot. The name of that is atherosclerosis. Athero is the name of the plaque. We call it an atheroma. And sclerosis simply means scarring or narrowing. So our name from the Latin is atherosclerosis. Everybody else's name is hardening of the arteries, which is not an inaccurate term, but that's the term we use. And I hope you don't have it, incidentally.
I had a CT scan at the hospital, and it says it on my results thing.
Well, we will find out.
Okay, I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay. The nice thing for Barbara, assuming everything goes well, is that even if there is something going on and we have to put in a stent, there's no bed rest after the procedure. There's no pressure that's put on the artery in the groin after the procedure. There's no bleeding from the artery in the groin because we're not there. And Barbara should be able to go home about 3 hours after the procedure. So it's a much more comfortable procedure for the patient. And I'm going to show you a slide later on in the talk comparing patients' thoughts about one over the other.
Does she feel any discomfort during this process? How does she feel?
A little pinprick from the Novocaine, which is no different than Novocaine elsewhere. Other than that, when we give the drugs into the artery, it feels weird for about 10-15 seconds. The hand feels a little bit warm, a little bit tingly as the drugs are going through the little blood vessels in the hand. Other than that, there should be no sensation whatsoever. And literally no sensation whatsoever. The only thing that the patients note is that whenever we're x-raying, the lights in the room go off. So we can see the TV screens a little bit better because we're looking at it on TV.
And you said it takes 3 hours?
No, the procedure itself takes 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
The patient goes home in about 3 hours after the procedure.
I see. Okay. All right. Well,
Goodness. I couldn't handle 3 hours.
Yeah. Dan, you do all that in the office right there?
Well, no, it's in the hospital.
It's in the hospital.
It's in the hospital
Okay.
because of the equipment and the technicians. There are places in the United States where it is done in offices. There was an outpatient cath lab in Las Vegas for a while. But we do them all in the hospital, and insurance considerations now and reimbursement considerations make it much easier to do it in the hospital.
All right, we have Amy on the phone. Amy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead and ask the doctor.
Yes, there's been so much talk about stents, and I've never had the procedure, but I've known a lot of people that had it, and they have to have it done over and over and over. Can you talk a little bit about how safe they are?
Yes, I will. Stents have been out. The first stent came out in the early 90s. So stents have been around for a while. And all a stent is a scaffolding. And when I explain it to my patients, I like analogies. And the analogy of putting a stent into a coronary artery is the same analogy as using chicken wire before a house is stuccoed. And when you're stuccoing a house, the first thing the contractor does is put chicken wire in, puts the stucco over the chicken wire, the stucco dries, and the chicken wire is now irrelevant. When we put in a stent, it's a little mesh, it's a little metal mesh that looks like chicken wire, it's a little more expensive, and we put it into the artery, we expand it with a balloon so that the artery opens up and the stent holds the artery open. And then over the stent, the body lays down tissue, lays down normal blood vessel tissue, covers the stent, and now the stent is irrelevant because the stent is now in the wall of the artery. What happens, Amy, is really two things to answer your question. They're two very different things. Number one, as the stent is being covered by blood vessel cells, too much blood vessel cells can be laid down, a little bit like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and it just doesn't stop. And so since the artery is a tube, as you continue laying that tissue down, the tube becomes narrower and narrower. That's called restenosis. Stenosis means narrowing, and re means narrowing again. With the stents that we use, which are mainly coated with a drug, the incidence of that's about 5% or so. The older stents we use, the bare metal stents that we still use sometimes, the incidence is a little bit higher. But mainly, Amy, what you're seeing is the fact that this is an ongoing progressive disease. There are a number of arteries in the heart, and a lot of the patients that come back for further procedures are coming back for new procedures on new arteries.
All right, well, we're going to have a lot more in just a minute. We'll be right back from this commercial break.